So I kind of like saw a different angle to that because it didn't deal with that what was important. Because if I did it in accordance with what I liked and what I least liked, that really didn't get the job that was important done.
Hmm.
And the most impactful work and most meaningful work that gave the most results because it was just a case of an emotional trigger. I like it, I'll do it. If I don't like it, I don't do it. So that exercise made me realize that maybe I've actually got all my priorities in the wrong order in the past. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That's I appreciate that, Toy, that's why I was talking about yesterday, is that awareness is the starting point of everything. Because when we start sort of making whether it's checking in with our behaviors, our mind, what we're doing, who we're with, and all those kind of things, when we start checking in with those, that is the starting point of everything, and it helps us to start making some decisions about how we're going to actually reframe. So, by the way, reframe the phrase where you're saying that, I've been doing it all wrong in the past. And the reality is that's not true. There are maybe some things that you've chosen to do because you enjoy it more and it's easier potentially. I'll put my teeth back in. But there are other things that you would have been doing because they're the right choices to make on it. But I think I actually said in the training yesterday is that sometimes we do the thing that's easier rather than the thing that's hard because we don't want to put ourselves in a place where we fear it might go wrong or it's something we don't enjoy. So we procrastinate with a lot of the easy stuff sometimes. But anyway, thank you for sharing. A very quick question with yourself as well, Caitlin. Any observations that you found or questions, should I say?
Yeah. I didn't actually see the sheet until like an hour ago, but I did realize like yesterday was very stressful because I had a lot of projects, especially ones I like didn't really enjoy or want to do, and they were all due like yesterday. So, reading through the sheet, I kind of realized like, oh, like some of the interactions weren't great, and I was like kind of already in my feelings, but because of what they said, like I kind of jumped on it, and I actually just talked to a coworker about it too, because it's hard to virtually, it's like things read very like flat in tone. So I kind of just like added that in. So going through the worksheet, even the like, this morning was helpful to kind of just identify like some of that thinking and where I could make changes.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. And as I was saying right at the beginning, is that this is something that you'll start observing over a period of time. I mean, obviously, this is great observations in like the 24 hours, but then throughout the week you'll see more observations. But over time, you'll see even more things. And by the way, everybody, it doesn't mean to say that suddenly you're going to resolve all of these issues and you're going to become really great at all of them because it takes practice and we are creatures of habits and that's okay. But as soon as we recognize it, it's more easier for us to go, hang on, what am I doing right there? And how can I reframe that? But the more you check in and practice it, the easier it becomes. And it's rather like, as I say, it's like peeling back an onion. So there's some things that will be quick win resolutions, and there'll be other things where you just get to the root of the actual problem, but it might take longer to resolve and fix over time. And that's okay because we're human. By the way, even though I've been doing this for 5 years and working on myself, I still have things every now and again that I do. But I do say to myself, what are you doing, Keely? Why are you doing that? So at least I can correct it. So, anyway, thank you for sharing. And I'm just going to share my desktop. And we are already on day two, which is lovely. And um, let's just make sure that I have that. All right. So can you all see that okay? I know it just says day two. So it's very, very simple on there. But what we're going to do is just a little bit of reflection on what we covered off yesterday. More funny enough is the point that I've just said is that the first thing that we covered off is awareness. And it is essentially, it's the foundation for everything Because as soon as we create awareness, that's when the learning starts happening with ourselves. I'm just trying to move me out of the way because I don't want me in the way. And I also want to stop that as well, because you end up getting a blob on the screen. Yeah, so it was all about, awareness. And then the second key area was around energy control, and that's been able to manage where your focus lies and where you're resourcing wisely. Right, rather like you've just said, is that there's been a lot of focus on a lot of the easy stuff rather than focusing on the maybe hard to do, or something that's urgent to do but maybe you don't enjoy quite so much. But interestingly, once that thing gets taken out of the way, it means that you can start doing the things that you enjoy. Or as you mentioned, Christiana, when you in that perfection stage and you're sort of doing things right up until sort of 10 minutes beforehand, think of the amount of time and resource that you've used and energy to put in to have that perfect presentation or that perfect email and those kind of things. And it's actually taking away your resources, energy resource, which is what we're going to be covering off tonight as well. And then the other thing is around intentional leadership. So making those conscious choices, because quite often, as I was saying yesterday, we're on autopilot. And because we're on autopilot, we're on that human doing, rather than being and making conscious choices and decisions about what it is that we want to be doing. Okay. So here's just something to run past you. Now, I know not everybody here is in manufacturing, but this is actually quite specifically relevant in environments where it's particularly male-oriented environments, but it's not restrictive of. And the biggest thing that is a challenge is that need to prove ourselves, because of the limiting beliefs that we quite often have around us. And that means that we then want to be seen as competent. So we try to overdo things and we're trying to be really excellent at everything. And the reality is that what that's doing is elevating our stress levels and creating emotional fatigue, which then means we can't sleep at night. And when we can't sleep at night, it also affects our eating habits. And it also causes things like self-soothing, where maybe drinking too much or eating too much, or in some cases, people taking substances, or, just cutting off from individuals, avoidance, not dealing with conflict, all of those kind of things. It has multiple impacts on us and obviously our overall well-being. So what we're covering off today is Re-Energise, which is one of my favourite topics by virtue of the fact is it is absolutely great that we've had a reset. We've recognised some of the things that cause us stress and some of the things, indicators for stress around our body and what's going on. But if we don't have the energy to do anything about it, we start falling back into a cycle of patterns of behaviour and go back on repeat. And this is why re-energizing is so important, so we can re-inject vitality and energy into our body. So it gives us more focus, more clarity. We don't have issues around things like brain fog and the memory loss and some of those things that come with it. And albeit on occasions when we're really, really tired, maybe shooting from the hip and affecting our relationships, whether that's in our personal lives or in our work life and with our friends. So what is this all about then, Re-Energise? It's those micro habits, those actions that you can introduce into your life and create significant shifts of energy. As an example, a very small example, is that quite often we don't take well-meaning breaks, particularly women in leadership roles, because they feel like they must be doing all the time because that proves that they're actually doing something productive. And when we don't take those well-meaning breaks and leave our desks and take time out to literally slow down and have some breathing space, that means we lose the clarity, the focus, and the thinking time. So when you step away, it can help us. And then, of course, those like things like daily intentional practices that helps to replenish our leadership capacity. Because if we don't have the energy, then we don't have the performance that we would normally have. And by the way, as someone that's quite late in her 50s now, I hate to say, but I am. When we're going through things like menopause and we're going through lots of changes and all those kind of things, it can have a contribution to impact our A game. So anything that we can do to contribute to our A game by healthy living can help us to perform so much better. And then, of course, we've then got, creating that rhythm between effort and recovery. And as I turned around and said, is taking that time to take well-meaning breaks and help us to be in our peak performance. So why does Re-Energise matter? Now, some of it I've already covered off, but one of them, when we have a performance boost, it helps us to improve our leadership effectiveness. When we've got energy management, it actually has a 40% improvement. The other thing I've already covered off is that we make better decisions. By 78%, we make better decisions because we make clearer choices when we're well rested. Now, one of my clients that's on the Freedom Transformation Formula, and she was in fact on last night. She's getting a haircut tonight. And she won't mind me sharing this. She said, well, the biggest thing that she's learned since that she's sort of had a reset and thinking about some of the things that she's doing and taking time out and doing some self-care for herself, and also not being perfectionism. So is that it's then given her more clarity and more thinking time to have those clearer choices. And by the way, it's helped her to actually get more done in a day because her brain is less confused. So she's found it very, very effective. And the next thing is it has 3 times the impact on your team members because an energized leader inspires others members' teams. I mean, let me ask you a question. Is that how many times have you been surrounded by someone that's been, say, leading a meeting or, doing a seminar or a talk or something like that, and they're just like really talking quite dull and uninteresting and just waffle on for ages and ages. And because their energy is low, you don't find them inspiring or exciting. So maybe there's someone that you recognize like that. Put a 3 in the chat if that's something you recognize. Yeah. Yeah, I think you reckon. I can see a smile on your face, Debbie. So definitely. So, and let me ask, so from your perspective, how has that made you feel, Debbie, when you've been in the company of someone like that? How has it impacted your energy levels?
It just drains you, doesn't it? It brings you down as well. So it's quite exhausting because you're actually having to work overtime at bringing your own energy levels up.
Yeah. So this is where I love this part of my framework, and that's the G.E.M.S Wellbeing Journey. And essentially, the G.E.M.S Wellbeing Journey is all about helping you to be able to re-energize your body and re-inject that vitality into you. And the first key step that I work with my clients is gratitude. And that's all about creating a mindset of abundance by acknowledging what works well. Because again, I'm going to invite you to put a 6 in the chat. Is how often are you celebrating your own successes? So, or should I say, is put a 6 in the chat if you celebrate your own successes of what you achieve. All right. I can't.
Not often enough.
Yeah, not often enough.
Yeah. And so nobody's said anything there. So.
Yeah, which is interesting, isn't it? Now, the reason why I say that, as an example, is that I used to be a program delivery director in the corporate world. And as that role, my role was going from one program to another project and all that lot. So always looking forward to the finish goal about what needs to be delivered. But very rarely was we looking back as what's been achieved and what's been succeeded. So we was always in that state of lack. So we're always looking at the gap and not the gain. And it's the same in your own personal life. So whether it's in the last 24 hours, you've done something that you can be proud of, or in the last week, 6 months, year, 10 years, I don't know what training, that you have, whether I know that I did my master's in business years ago. Well, I sort of did it and I moved on. I congratulated myself momentarily, but I sort of moved on from that and then wanted to go and do another thing and then another thing. So I was constantly trying to learn and improve, but not actually going, do you know what? You've done some fantastic things there. So it's recognizing your own successes. And I know that we potentially, if you've got team members, I hope that you recognise them, but usually we recognise theirs, but not our own. So it's that abundance mindset. The other one is around enhance. So it's about upgrading your wellness, and that's through things like grounding, energy, nutrition, hydration, movement, what we put in and on our bodies. So much, I hate to say this, so many individuals are putting too many chemicals on their body and inside their body. And the result of which, when you have impacted gut health, it will affect your mind health. And when you affect your mind health, then it will affect your gut health, which will then have an impact on things like inflammation, your joints, gut ache, things like hair falling out. It affects your hormone balance, all of those kind of things. And when we don't recognize that, then we're then impacting our performance even more so. I used to suffer lots until I started changing my lifestyle around that. And for anybody that's not familiar with it, it's grounding or earthing. Could you put a 3 in the chat if you are familiar with grounding or earthing? I will briefly be covering that at some point, but it's can you see anything in the chat at all? Because I can't see the chat box.
Yeah, you just asked for 3, but that was just, everybody's done 3.
All right, that's good. So, because I don't like to make assumptions, but I want to go into too much detail at the moment. The other thing is meditation. It's been able to reset your nervous system with intentional pauses and stillness, and also unblocking some of the false beliefs about what meditation actually is. Because many individuals panic because they think meditation means sitting there with your legs crossed, focus for 30 minutes and you're not allowed to have your mind go off into different directions. The reality is that's actually the opposite of it. By virtue of the fact that you recognize that you've gone off and then come back again, that's part of the meditation process. But that's something we go into detail in. And then there's steps, those small repeatable actions that align your habits with your leadership vision. So it helps you to start improving on a day-to-day basis and gives you the lift and energy that you need. Okay. So what I'm going to invite you, if you don't already do something like this, is that part of the actions that I'm going to be doing this week is around gratitude and action. So it's that morning practice where you start your day by writing 3 things that you're really grateful for. And you know what? When you write them down as well, when you're actually speaking them aloud, and you're recognizing them, then it has a very positive energy reaction to you. So you're starting on a positive way rather than from a negative way. And I would also invite you not to switch this baby on first thing in the morning. Many individuals have that as the first thing they do in the morning, quite often in bed. So when they're reading things like emails and messages and social media, they're putting themselves in a state of anxiety already. So the other one is leadership wins. So focus on progress, not perfection, and celebrate those small victories. Okay. And then as an example of that is that I handled a difficult conversation with calm today. That's just as an example of that, how that can help. Okay. Right, I am going to pause right there, and because I'm conscious of everybody's time. So, before we finish off this evening, has anybody got any observations that they would like to share before we go? Or any questions?
I was wondering, did you mention the M and the S of the G.E.M.S?
Yes. So the M and the S, the M was meditation.
Oh, right, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it fell under enhance.
Yeah. And the S is steps. So it's like the observations of the steps that I actually said that help you to move forwards. Okay.
Are we expecting another assignment?
Yes, so the assignment that I shared with you as gratitude in action as an activity is that morning practice. So is that morning activity of writing down three things that you are grateful for. And then the leadership win is also is at recognizing what it is that is going to help you to be able to recognize what you've focused on in terms of not perfection, but you're celebrating small victories that you've achieved. Okay.
Yeah, I heard that. I was only asking if you'll be sending a PDF document.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I will be
Yeah,
sending a PDF document to you.
that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you will get on the PDF document, you'll get G.E.M.S planner where it's got gratitude, enhanced meditation and steps. Okay. In the check sheet. So any other questions? No? Excellent. Hopefully that's all for positive reasons. So, but other than that, everybody, you have a fabulous evening. I will be sharing with you the check sheet, and also I look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. And in fact, I'll have the lovely Debbie with me tomorrow evening because we're going to be in the same location. Hopefully, try and iron out some of her priorities tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Lovely to see you all.
Lovely to see you too. Thank you so much, Kay.
Thank
See
you,
you tomorrow.
Thank you, Toyin, and thank you, Caitlin.
Bye.